Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Welcome everyone. Happy Saturday. Thank you for joining us today on e-Brunch with MENDAKI, the very first virtual brunch this year. Today's topic is Nourish to Flourish, nurturing academic success through mental wellness. Now, as someone who has struggles with mental health issues or mental wellness through the years, ever since I was a secondary school student, up until now, as a program manager in Google, mental wellness is something that is very, very close to my heart. And especially across, recently the Ministry of Education has launched and announced plans to increase mental health wellness and education in schools. That has really gotten me excited because I also used to be a secondary school teacher for 4 years. And that was when I really tried and understand and learned and journeyed together with my students and fellow teachers and parents as well, as we figured out how to best support students through their mental health well-being and academic success as well. There's so many different things that we are going to be talking today, and as your moderator, I'm very pleased to be helming this. And before we begin, we also want to make sure that you are following us on Instagram and Facebook, as we will be posting a lot of the updates, a lot of the learnings that we've had today, as well as future opportunities, bursaries, scholarships, as well as tips on this Instagram and Facebook profile. So we want to make sure that you have them and don't miss out. So please follow us on MENDAKI SG, as well as for both Instagram and Facebook. Now, today we were meant to have Associate Professor Faisal Ibrahim to join us today. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it due to a scheduling clash. Now, I was personally very much looking forward to have him join us, just to understand a bit more about his journey as a father. I'm sure, with us today are not just mothers. We have mothers, fathers, caregivers, as well as students. And we will be able to have, a different slew of perspectives. In his stead, we will have our very own Madam Sabrina Abdullah, the Assistant Director of Education in MENDAKI, who has a Masters of Arts in Psychological Studies, Counseling and Guidance. And together with our esteemed panelists today, we will be able to share perspectives and inputs across the issues of mental wellness and academic success in students. Now, we're going to dive straight into today's session. Now, this first speaker is someone I hold very dearly and very highly in regard, and I'm very excited to hear what she has to share with all of us today. So Dr. Bibi Jan is the co-founder and counselor and a board or director of Club Heal. And as a parent educator with over 40 years of experience, Dr. Bibi Jan's passionate involvement in community work has seen her work with children, youth, and families across a myriad of issues. She was conferred the Public Service Award in 1987, the Public Star Award in 2006, and the Public Service Star Bar in 2017 because of her extensive involvement in community work. Now, I am a particular big fan of Club Heal, so this is an absolute honor to have and be seated next to Dr. Bibi Jan today. Welcome to the brunch, Dr. Bibi. Very happy. I'm kind of fangirling a bit, but I'm trying to manage it. How long has it been since you founded Club Heal?
It's about 9 years.
It's been a while. I can only imagine the amount of people and help that you've extended to so many families and so many individuals. And I understand that today you will be talking about help seeking as well as maximizing students' potential. You will be sharing on the relationship between mental health and general well-being, as well as various strategies to flourish in the education journey. So I'm really excited for this. Dr. Bibi Jan, please.
Thank you, Atika, for your kind words, for your kind introduction. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. A very good morning to one and all. Thank you, MENDAKI, for having me to share my personal experience. Okay, let's start with making sure that we all understand the key concepts that we have put here. One is academic excellence and one is mental wellness. Now, there's a very strong correlation between academic excellence and mental wellness of a person. Now, I just give you a very simple definition here. Academic excellence is demonstrated by the ability to perform to achieve and also to excel in scholastic activities. Okay, this is the standard definition of academic excellence that we all know, because we all in Singapore are very familiar with this concept. Now, academic excellence also has been identified with achieving high grades and superior performance. That's what it's being associated with. However, recently, with all these technological changes and AI and what have not with IoT, we find that academic excellence is not just getting good grades. Now we are moving away the concept from mere working towards grades to mastery learning. Now, actually, you can get more information about mastery learning. I'm not going to unpack this concept of mastery learning here because we have very little time. Now, the second word that I think, or terminology that I like to discuss here, is about relationship between mental health and well-being of a person. Mental health is more than just absence of mental illness, because people think that, oh, I'm okay because I don't have schizophrenia, I don't have bipolar, I don't have obsessive-compulsive disorder. These are all clinical aspects of it that I'm not going to discuss, because we are not talking about children here and what we can how we can help the children. Now, when a person has good mental health, healthy mental health, we can see that a person will be able to meet their learning potential, be it children, teenagers, or even adults like you and me. We are able to cope with normal stresses. Every day we are encountering these stresses. And more importantly, we are able to connect to community and friends. After all, we are all social beings. So ability to connect to people is very important. We do not want to be socially isolated from other people. Now, question is, why do we need to promote mental health? You can just get here, very simple, is to ensure that we develop optimum functioning, to flourish in our education journey, to build resilience against adversity. There are a lot of adversity in our life. Life is not full bed of roses. There are a lot of crises that we face day to day. So how do we build resilience? So person who have a strong resilience, hopefully, inshallah, they will be able to go through their journey, their life journey, and develop protective factor from mental ill health, because sometimes a prolonged stress, prolonged burnout, if it is not addressed, it will lead to mental ill health, mental ill problem. Then, of course, we need to provide skills and confidence. And in order to do that, we have to make sure that we have help-seeking attitude and help-seeking behavior for early intervention. And finally, with good mental health, we are also able to increase opportunity in our life and choices, good choices, because there are a lot of things we can do. Now, at the macro level, we find that there are many initiatives done by different organizations, institutions in Singapore, to address this mental health. Even at the global level, WHO, World Health Organization, have looked into all this. We have MOH, Ministry of Health, we have HPB, Health Promotion Board, and also MOE. Even at the school level, later on, our next speaker will be able to elaborate on this. And finally, at the community level, we have voluntary welfare organizations, Malay Muslim organizations, private and social enterprise are also looking into mental health, because this is a real issue, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, for our discussion here, we are looking at family level, because as parent educator, as a mother of 6 children also, I have difficulties. I have my own struggle helping my children, helping my family. So nobody is actually not involved with this problem, not struggling with this mental health issue. So what can we do at the family level, and how being individuals, being Muslims, especially being Muslims, we have Maqasid Sharia, where we focus not just on religious issue, ritual aspect, we are also focused on the need to maintain life and mental health. So this is very much covered in our religion. Some of the main concerns that I would like to highlight here among parents who are watching our program right now is about the need to ensure that our child is not left behind and we don't lose our child. Now, when I'm talking about loss here, we're not talking about physical, literal loss. We can lose our child when our child is having problem and if they are not being addressed. they are not being taken care. That is what I mean here. Now, poor parenting, neglect, these are some aspects of it. So when children are not given the right stimulation, not being taken care, not being monitored, not being helped, this will also affect the child's development. Now, we are also here that there are many cases in our society where children are exposed to various adverse childhood experiences and events. Some examples would be children who are physically, sexually, emotionally abused, children who are exposed to drugs, children who are having, custody issue where parents are having conflicts. These are some examples. Now, lack of support also important because especially among the kids who have special needs and they need early assessment. The earlier we assess them and the earlier we can intervene and provide the right intervention, it will help the child. Otherwise, again, this is what I mean by loss. We lose the child. And parents with issue like mental health, they are also sometimes we ourselves have mental health problem, but we are not aware because we are so mechanical. Every day we go day by day meeting the needs, and sometimes we are not aware ourselves, and we find that children are mirroring us unconsciously, and lack of role models and protective factors. These are some examples that I can cover here, just to ensure that we understand and we are on the same page. What are the tips for some parents? I think the very basic is to ensure that we have a very strong relationship, emotional bonding. We may be staying together under one roof. That doesn't mean we have a strong bond. So in order to have a strong bond, we must have strong trust. And in order to develop this trust and bonding, we must have good communication skills. Okay, by working with the kids, by talking to the kids, by making sure that we process their feeling and their thought, and validating their emotions, I think this will be some of the things that we can do in order to have good communication with the child. Now, the other thing that I also want to highlight is never underestimate the power of role modeling, because if we have positive mindset, inshallah, most likely the kids will also follow us. Likewise, if we feel helpless and hopeless, the kids will mirror us. So therefore, I'm advising to myself also sometimes, because I also have the same situation, the same problem. So we have to be mindful, we have to be aware of our own emotions, and hopefully we'll be able to navigate our emotion and help the kids to navigate theirs. Now, then we're talking about resilient building for the children. Well, one way to ensure that resilience is part of the whole process of helping the child is to make sure that we have a very safe environment at home, physically, emotionally, psychologically. This is very important, because otherwise the child will develop, in a very insecure manner. Then we are talking about positive social connection. So the social system, the support system is very critical, not just for the children, even for adults like us, for parents. The more social system, the more social connection we have, the better it will be. Then we're talking about life skills and pro-social value and self-regard. Okay, these are some of the things that I think we know, the sense of purpose and personal responsibility. Then the next thing, we're talking about developing social emotional competency in children. I think I just put some of the things here. I think we have to, I don't need to emphasize about the importance of inculcating moral value, virtues and all these. These are critical to ensure that our children are very strong. But some of the tips that if you can remember this acronym, I think that will be useful. Ensure that just keep on active. I think as adults, as parents, we have to be active, and hopefully the word ACE, A-C-E, be communicative and listen with empathy to our children. By having ACE, hopefully our children will also ACE in their life. We will ACE in our life, children will ACE in their life. Now, these are the key ingredients that we can look forward. I think with that, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll be able to discuss more during the Q&A. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bibi Jan. I think, your sharing was so insightful that, one of the things that I really got from it was this notion of resilience, right? And you did mention that, with the current pandemic, with the stresses, with so many things changing, in the local landscape, the education landscape, as well as the global landscape, there's so many uncertainties and challenges, and this skill of resilience is a muscle that we can build.
Yes.
And resilience being the ability to cope and to thrive. It's really about not really just pushing things under the carpet and pretending that everything is okay. Yes. And just also, one of the things that came out was the fact that you have 6 children. And you also mentioned that you had your own struggles as well. So there's no such thing as like everybody can do everything without help, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that I'm sure helped you was the fact that you had help.
Yes. We established strong social connection. And of course, we work as a team at home.
Yeah, and I think that's really important for parents to realize that it's never just your issue. And as well as, we do want to make sure that you have a chance to ask questions. Some of you have been interacting in the chat function. So thank you so much. We do have chat moderators from MENDAKI who's on board to be able to interact with you. If you do have a question, we do request that you write your questions in the Q&A function on Zoom itself. So if you see on the screen, there is a Q&A box that you can click. And right there is where we get your questions, and then we will have a dedicated time at the end to answer the questions. And so we really hope to hear from you, both in the chat as well as the Q&A. And we have such a slate of panelists, and the next one, we will be talking about common stress symptoms in students. We were talking about normal common stress symptoms, as well as now during the pandemic and returning to school with the different situations. How are we going to be dealing with that? And so this next speaker is also someone I'm very excited and honored to sit next to. Our next speaker is Madam Mariam Isnan, and she has been working with pupils in a primary school for more than 30 years. She's passionate in the areas of pastoral care and special needs, and has worked with pupils who are at risk as well as underachieving. She became a school counselor in 2007 and was very involved in social and emotional learning. Currently, Madam Mariam is a senior school counselor in Bukit Timah Primary School. Now, welcome to the branch, Madam Mariam. I understand that, you used to be a teacher before you became a counselor as well.
Yes,
so I'm sure you've seen so many different kinds of scenarios and cases and students. So I'm very excited to have you share with us today.
Thank you.
And so I understand that you will also be sharing resources from MOE?
Yes, I'll be sharing some resources
which
parents can tap on.
Yeah, so we'll make sure that the parents also understand and know that these resources will also be shared with you after the session, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, so great. So Madam Maria, please, we would love to hear your thoughts on common stress symptoms in students that can affect overall mental health. Madam Mariam, please.
Thank you. Right. Good morning, parents and students. Today, I'll be talking about common symptoms of stress in students that can affect overall mental health. Previously, you heard Dr. Bibi. She did explain this overview of mental health. So how do I see mental health? To me, mental health refers to your well-being, having that positive quality of life, and functioning well in school, right, at home, and also the community. So these symptoms of stress, or how do we see stress? So what is stress? Stress, if you look at the word itself, it has many negative effects on us. It doesn't look good, this word stress. But stress can be good too. I will unpack a bit more in my next slide. Right, this is the stress curve. Right, it shows the relationship between your performance to your stress level. And if you can see, there are 4 zones. But before I go into the 4 different zones, I want to highlight that performance does not just refer to academic performance, it refers to many other areas. Okay, let us go to the first zone, the blue zone. Right, this is under too little stress. Right? When you are laid back, you're inactive, usually you are not productive, you're not motivated to achieve your targets, definitely your performance will be affected. So parents, be mindful. If you notice that your child is not doing the task assigned to him, and he needs constant reminders, Do check in with him. Try to understand what your child is going through, his challenges. Give him time, right, to explain to you. Right, it's very important to listen to your child, and hopefully you'll be able to encourage your child to function better and to achieve his potential. Right, we go to the green zone, and that is the optimum stress. When you are in this zone, you are motivated, you are focused, you will definitely achieve the targets that you have set for, and your performance will definitely be maximized. And usually we tend to neglect ourselves when we are in the green zone. So I hope parents, if you notice that your children are functioning well, do take note of their self-care. Make sure they have enough sleep and rest. They do regular exercise. Your children have balanced meals, and they do have time to spend with families and also their friends. So I hope you can support them in these ways, and we do not want them to actually move to the orange zone. Now, if you look closely at the curve, at the top of the green zone, you can see the word fatigue. So when the stress level is too much to handle, it becomes bad stress. So fatigue, exhaustion will come along, and your child's performance will definitely be affected. So parents, I want you to look out for some signs of distress that your child may be experiencing. For example, stomach upset, frequent headaches. Sometimes we see outbursts of anger in children, and also frequent arguments, not very involved in their daily routines and activities. So I hope parents, you can look out for these signs and help your child to manage his mental well-being. Now, when your child is in the red zone, that's when your child will not be able to manage, right, the prolonged stress that your child is having. So I want parents to really give support to your child. In school, actually, we have many resources that parents can tap on. So if you observe that your child is really in the red zone, what you can do is do call the school teachers, right? Talk to them, and usually what the teachers will do is they will highlight the case to the school counselor, and with your consent, right? We will always get consent from parents, not to worry. So with your consent, the school will get your child to see the school counselor, and hopefully, right, your child's well-being will be supported. So I hope parents do reach out to the resources that we have in school. Okay, let us recognize some stress symptoms that we have in children. Okay, parents, you can use this list to check on your child's stress level. Right, so what does stress stand for? S, struggles to pay attention in studies or activities. Your child will be not focused, poor concentration. If you notice this shift, do be mindful, right? Pay more attention to your child. Tiredness, right? Rebellious streak. Suddenly your child starts to show anxiety, not willing to receive feedback, positive feedback from you, starts to talk back at you, and so on. So be mindful. E, excuses to miss school, right? The school refusal tendencies will come along. So please watch out for this symptom too. Now, stays away from others. He rather be alone than to join family activities or even with peers, right? Sulkiness, this is a negative emotion. You can also see sadness and fear in your child. So I hope parents, you will really look into your child's emotions and expectations. Always remember that when your child is having issues, do not just focus on his performance, right? Accept him as this special individual, Okay? You need to show care and concern, like what Dr. Bibi mentioned earlier on, right? Communication is very important, right? Do try to understand what he is going through, and hopefully you can support the child better. Normally, as parents, we equate performance as something that the child is good at. For example, if the child is having a good performance, he's having good self-worth, he thinks highly of himself. Usually, children will see performance, right, as something that will enhance their self-worth. But when they see failure, that's when they actually experience negative self-worth. And that's when you have to come in to support their mental well-being. Giving our children the space to grow by providing adequate challenge and high support. How do we do this? We have this resilience fostering interactions space. We advocate parents to use this. What does SPACE stand for? S, support. P, problem solve. A, affirm. C, cheer. And E, empower. Let me use a case to demonstrate SPACE. Previously, I had this P4 girl. Let me call her Sally. Right? She is overly worried and anxious. She's very emotionally down. Whenever she stepped into the school building, she'll be in tears. And we could see that she was not functioning well in school and even at home. She decided to distance herself from her family members. She kept to herself in her room, and communication was very minimal. Right? And her parents got worried because she reduce the contact that she had with her parents and also her brother. So what her mother did was to contact me, and we had a good conversation. Basically, we used the resilience fostering interactions to understand what Sally is going through. So mom became more empathetic, right? She empathized more with Sally's challenges. She started to provide positive feedback, right? She's more willing to listen, and they sat down to look at the problems together. Mom even actually took on a part-time job to support Sally after school. So they spent time together. Communication was definitely better. And we could see that Sally was happier and functioning better in school. So I hope parents remember this word SPACE and use this to build resilience in your children. Dr. Bibi Jan did highlight on building resilience in the children. And I think it's very, very important to have these interactions with your children. So I hope parents, you can get help or even get advice from the school counselors or even other mental health professionals, because help-seeking behavior, I think, is very crucial. When you see someone within the family having a mental health issue. And let me reiterate this point that help-seeking is a sign of courage and strength and not a weakness, even for the students too. Okay, you can actually get help from your school counselors, right? I hope you're not shy to reach out for all this help that is available for all of you. I'm sharing some additional community helplines that you can tap on, right? I hope some of you have heard of Tinkle Friend. Some students would have seen speakers from Tinkle Friend, conducting sessions, right? Talks for you in school. And for parents, Samaritans of Singapore, in short SOS, right? You can actually call the direct line or even chat online, okay? I will be sharing some resources that MOE has. You can use the QR code provided. This collection of resources for parents, right, on providing social and emotional support for your child, they're very useful. And I hope parents, you can sit down with your child to go through some of these good resources when you're supporting your child's mental well-being, okay? You will also have some useful tips on how to raise resilient children. okay? And tips on how to set goals with your children, how to raise confident children. So I hope parents, right, use a QR code at the end of this session and go through the resources. And these are other resources like Resilience Booster, Understanding Resilience. These are all very useful resources, and please go through them when you have the time. Right, before I end, parents, I wish you all the best. I know parenting is not easy, right? Bibi Chan did mention that she has 6 children. I have 6 children too. And my journey has been very meaningful and fruitful. And I hope you can nurture your children to the best of their potential. And for students too, right? Do reach out to get help from your teachers and your school counselors. Do not journey in your struggles alone, right? I want you to share your challenges with your parents, okay? And at the same time, enjoy your learning. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Madam Mariam. I think that those are such important pointers to call out. The fact that you don't have to be alone in your journey, that there's an entire network of support and resources that you can leverage on, and that help seeking is truly a sign of courage in that you are willing to be humble and grow and learn and be a better person. And this concept of resilience is so important, right? Because this ability to thrive and face adversity is, especially with today's current context of the differences with social media use, with pandemic, and all different challenges, resilience is such an important skill to build. And I truly do believe, even as an adult, I also have my mental health struggles, and so I have an entire support network. I see a therapist, I have a psychiatrist, I have a group of friends and family who know how to support me. And so I would always really encourage parents that you don't have to be alone in your journey. And students themselves, there's so much support out there. Find adults that you can trust, be your teachers, counselors, parents, and you don't have to be alone. We get to go through this together and be better. And so with that, we have been receiving such great questions on the Q&A function box. One of the features that we do have in the Q&A is upvoting. So if there are any questions that you also want to make sure get answered, or you like the question so that you don't have to repeat the questions, there is a thumbs up function. So please utilize that, because that will be the questions that we will prioritize as we go into Q&A. And with that, we will be going into watching a video that illustrates the importance of a parent's role in journeying with their children. I'm sure all of you here are already journeying with your children, but let's take a view of the video right now.
6 tahun pertama adalah masa terpenting dalam kehidupan seorang anak. Inilah masanya mereka melalui pelbagai pengalaman untuk pertama kalinya.
Merah, biru.
Ingatkah anda perkataan pertama mereka?
Apple.
Hari pertama mereka ke sekolah? Atau kali pertama mereka belajar berdikari? Pada awalnya, ragu-ragu dan menakutkan. Tetapi anda tidak putus-putus mengingatkan mereka dengan keyakinan diri. Tiada yang mustahil. Dan apapun pengalaman pertama yang dilalui, andalah wira dalam hidup mereka.
Right. What a wonderful video. I think something that truly resonated with me is the whole fact that, your students and children really need to be able to see role models, to be able to see that they can do it themselves, right? And to build that confidence and resilience as we go along, to have that little boost of confidence whenever their parents also give them confidence as well. Now, if you have just joined us, we are at the e-Brunch with MENDAKI. We have a topic that's very, very close to my heart, mental wellness and well-being. And we have a great slew of panelists with us today. I'm very excited to have with me on stage as well, Madam Sabrina, Associate Director in MENDAKI. We have Dr. Bibi Jan, co-founder of a Club Heal, as well as board of director. And we also have Madam Mariam, school counselor, super experienced school counselor. And we do have all of these questions coming in right now. The first question will be for Madam Sabrina. Right, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So, Madam Sabrina, how do we support and motivate our children to learn without feeling stressed?
Okay, so I think, of course, there's many ways for us as parents to continue to support and motivate our children. I think this is where I would like to share with the parents out there on two key points. The first one is this entire notion of caring for the child. In MENDAKI, for example, we truly believe in care as a fundamental in all of our programs, which we entrench it into the ethics of care philosophy. So what I meant by the term care is, I'm very sure parents out there, you are very familiar with this. Parents shared with us that, oh, how else to care? I've cared so much for my child. I work so hard, and yet they are not motivated and they are not felt supported. I guess this is where I would like to highlight that the concept of care needs to be reciprocal. Although parents externalize their care in their lenses to what they think is caring, but as long as the child do not internalize it and feel that they are cared for, then the relationship is quite one-sided. Of course, as parents, there's many ways that we can show our care to the child. For example, simple things like active listening. Take time to listen to your children, the young ones or even the teens. Acknowledge their struggles. So, for example, they do share that they have a lot of difficulties in math, for example. Acknowledge it. Do not problem solve for them all the time, because especially in our teenagers, right? I think our panelists mentioned about resilience. At that age, they are also trying to be resilient for adulthood. So don't, like when they share with you something, you give them solutions, just take time to listen. So these are the things that parents can do. The second point that I would like to also share with the group out there is take time to understand your child learning needs. For example, we know there's many kinds of learners. There's visual learners, there's auditory learners, So if, let's say, for example, you know that your child are very much of verbal auditory learners, encourage him or her to talk. That's how he or she felt motivated. You think it may be just ranting, but it's not. It's actually learning that take place. They learn like that. So I think when they find that their learning is enriched, then that's how they feel more motivated and more supported by their parents and family system. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess, the first point that you said about reciprocity, right? The fact that the child themselves need to feel cared for versus, the parents just caring in their own way, shape, and form. And so I guess that's where what Dr. Bibi said earlier about the communication, the importance of truly understanding, truly listening with empathy, and being able to truly reach out and be touched by the child as well. And that's really important. And the point that you raised about problem solving, I think as adults, even myself, as a teacher or even as an adult, it's so easy to just be like, this is how you do it, right? Immediately giving the solution versus giving them the appropriate support and resources to find the solutions themselves. And I think that's something that even, that resonated truly with me. So thank you for answering that question. So Dr. Bibi, this question is next for you. I think you mentioned a lot about, how parents themselves need to be able to support their mental well-being in order to support their children's mental well-being. So the question is, how can parents help ourselves first with our mental wellness issues?
I think I did mention about the importance of A's. So parents keep themselves active, When I say active, not just physically active, but also learning, because a lot of things now we have to keep on learning. If we are not learning, we are not continually learning, we will be just left behind. Now with the social media, with the explosion of knowledge, we just have to keep on learning. And it takes the whole village, as we are aware, it takes the whole entire village to develop a child. So we need to have a strong support system, because we are not Superman or Superwoman, So sometimes by creating a support system, having parents or parent-in-law or helper, or even plugging with community resources, these are all ways and means of how we can support ourselves And then from there, when we are achieving this state of mental well-being, we will be able to empower and help our children, and they are also mirroring us. So this is some of the simple, basic tips that I can share with you. Yeah.
Yes, that's so important, right? This concept of making sure that we take care of ourselves first, like putting on the oxygen mask for ourselves first before putting it on other people, even with our children, is really important. And the recognition that there's so many things that we don't know, but there's so many resources out there, and we don't have to do it alone. And you mentioned, with social media and the explosion of knowledge, it's not just for our children, right, that they're being exposed to so many different things, but we have access to resources as well. So I think that's really something to kind of take ownership of our own well-being and going above and beyond to make sure that we are okay as well. So the next question that we have is for Madam Mariam. So what are the signs to look out for in emotional distress or depression in our tweens or teens?
Okay, for emotional distress or depression, like what I mentioned in the stress curve, when you are in the red zone, right, you have to be mindful. So as parents, these are some of the common stress symptoms or symptoms of emotional distress or depression. For example, anxiety, panic attack is very rampant. Overthinking and over-worrying. Sometimes you do cry in your room alone. You are always thinking. Like you feel. You feel overwhelmed. You also feel that others don't understand you, right? And because of that, you're not willing to reach out for support and help. So if you feel that you are in the red zone, I think the best step to take is do talk to your parents, right? And parents, I mentioned earlier on, you can reach out to the school for support. So do call up the child's teacher, and from there, we will know how to support your child.
Yes, I think that's really important. And you're exactly right. Depression, anxiety is really not just on the rise with everything that's happening, but there's a lot more awareness and knowledge, and a lot more children have the language to try and explain it right now. So I think one of the most important things is for parents is to be able to identify it, to be able to just be sensitive to it, right, to see the changes in their children. But then also know the next step is you don't have to be alone to work with it, right, and to deal with it alone. There are support. There's counselors, there's teachers, there's mental health professionals. And those are really important. Don't get kind of blocked into this state of, I don't know what to do. It's okay if you don't know what to do. There are always resources out there.
Atika, if I may just add.
For sure.
Yeah,
please.
if I may add to the point. I think when we're talking about teens and tweens, they are, because based on our experience also, normally they are undergoing transitions. And we are talking about two levels of transitions here. For some students, they are going from primary school to secondary school. That is a big changes that they have to, big adjustment that they have to make, Now, the other aspect of transition is they are moving from childhood or tweens, and they're going into teenagers. Again, that kind of physiological changes, psychological changes, academic changes. I mean, there are a lot to grapple with. So I think this is where parents have to be aware and mindful and provide the necessary support. Sometimes we want the best for the children. Yes, we do. But just setting target, providing the resources, but not guiding them, a little bit of hand-holding, I think scaffolding will go a long way.
Yeah, scaffolding is really important, knowing that it's a journey that we go on together,
right,
and being able to support each other is really important as well. Next question will be actually for you, Dr. Bibi. If our children say they have no motivation in life and might be depressed, do we have to immediately take it seriously?
Yes, definitely. I think we have to really go deeper, and as I said, when we communicate with our children, parents especially, don't just take at the surface value, because you have to go slightly deeper and see what is communicated and what is not communicated. So verbal, non-verbal communication, facial expression. There's now Madam Mariam talk about psychosomatic symptoms. These are all all telltale signs that parents have to be aware, because sometimes in our own busyness or sometimes we underestimate the behavior of the child. So I think we have to slightly ask the child and what else can be done. If the child refuses to talk, this is where we have to find, like what you have mentioned earlier, some professionals who can help us. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, parents must be a little bit more sensitive. Sometimes unintentionally we're not ignoring, but unintentionally we just miss the point. So make sure that we don't have these missed opportunities, and every moment is a very critical moment, especially for the growing up children.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's being taken seriously is part of being listened to, right? Being able to, and that's something that you mentioned, Ms. Sabrina, about actually truly listening, and not kind of just immediately problem solving. It's like, this is how you do, and it's very easy. And this kind of really translates to the next question. And it's to you, Madam Mariam, but please, I would love to hear all the other speakers as well, because you do have children too. The question is, how to encourage teenage daughter to speak out what's in her mind and heart. I think my daughter always talks only about things that she believes I want to hear.
Right, this is very common actually. I think in order for your teenage daughter to share, right, her thoughts, her emotions with the parents, I think you have to build that trust first. Right, that relationship building, like what Dr. Bibi mentioned earlier on, is very important. I had a struggle too as a mother, right, trying to understand my children. But normally what I will tell the parents is you have to win the trust of your child. Try to have more family bonding activities together to show that you are really serious into looking into your child's well-being, to understand his struggles. Usually, children will not really share because they felt that they will be judged, right? They will be blamed, maybe, or labeled for something they perceive they didn't do. That miscommunication also, because parents may have a different perception than the children. So I hope that parents will take that step forward to lower down their expectations a bit and tell them that you are this special person in front of me whom I really care and I really need to understand what you're going through. Like what I mentioned, when the child is in the orange zone, you need to start to really, right, sit down and help your child really be more sensitive towards the needs of your child. I think what I'm trying to communicate to parents is build that trusting relationship. Have that trust first, and hopefully, gradually, your child will open up to you. It won't happen instantly. It takes time. And children, when they come to me as a school counselor, they're more than willing to share with me their grievances and their struggles. They felt that I'm very neutral, right? I don't judge. I don't make assumptions. So I hope parents will do the same thing, right? Listen to your child, don't make assumptions, understand the situation better before you actually render support.
Yeah, that whole notion of building trust can be such an abstract concept, right? So I'm actually would love to hear from Dr. BBS or Madam Mariam. Is there a tip that you could also share in terms of how to build that trust so that your children will also open up to you?
Maybe I share. Madam Maria mentioned about doing activities together. I think this is something that you have to establish in your own home, something that you have to embed in your daily activity, eating together and having recreation together. If you can have all this system in place, if your children can talk to you something which doesn't matter, and I think that will be a good sign, because when things matter to their life, they will even share with you. I think this is very important, because sometimes when we are too busy, we say, oh, this is small thing, So it's really, to us, this is non-event, non-issue. Why are we talking about it? But if we can talk with them, something that doesn't matter to us, but it matters a lot to them, I think hopefully we'll be able to build this trust. So this is one simple tip I can share. Maybe the other panel members can share.
So maybe if I could add, I think to parents out there, in our effort to build trust, even for us adults, space and time-out moment is very important. Sometimes I think as parents, it's our best intention to want to try to help the child, but we also have to understand, especially in teenage, there's hormones flaring everywhere. They themselves are going through so many hormonal and psychological changes. So I think, we probably need to honor that space and time out. So if you communicate with your child that, are you okay? You haven't been seeming to talk to me and things like that, do communicate with them that if they need that space and time out, do give it to them so that they can sort their own emotions and feeling. Otherwise, I guess parents will be seen as a very naggy, significant others in their life, and then they will just shut down totally and just let parents hear what they want to hear in that sense,
Yeah, it feels like such an art, parenting. I don't have kids, I'm not a parent, but one of the things that I kind of got from this was that, you have to have the structure and the routines. You build the what you say, Dr. Bibi, talk about things that don't really matter so that when things really matter, they already have that runway and that structure to be able to have that conversation. And then, you also mentioned that don't be a helicopter parent and don't be a naggy parent where, then the child doesn't even really want to talk to you. So I think it's really a dance of trying to figure out, what is the structure and the foundation that needs to be in place to build that trust, to truly listen, to do things together, activities together, to know that the support is there so that even if they do need a timeout, once they're ready, they can come back to talk to you. And I think that's really important. Not easy. It doesn't sound easy at all. So kudos to all you parents out there in terms of really journeying together with each other and your children. And so the next question is for you, Madam Sabrina, and also would love to hear the rest. It is very competitive nowadays, even at primary one. Parents are sending children for so much enrichment to ensure their kids are ahead academically. How do we cope with this if we do not have the same financial resources?
Yeah, this is indeed a very good question. And again, I would like to share and emphasize here that our issue, like I said, parents have the best of intentions for their children. And our issue here is not to really upload a lot of things to that poor child, because now in schools there's also so many things. I think Madam Mariam just now shared earlier about fatigue. So that is where I think students get fatigued very quickly because they are supposed to be everywhere and doing everything. So again, I think as parents here, be it those with financially constrained or otherwise, take time to actually look into what are the needs of the child. For example, if your children is in lower primary school, sometimes what they need is just, and very much of a visual learner, what they need is just a piece of paper, for example, and some crayons and drawings and things like that to actually emphasize their learning. And like I said, they are just not drawing aimlessly, but when doing that, when conversation take place among the child and the children, there's a very, very rich learning experiences that's there. So similarly for students who are more kinesthetic and things like that, do take time. Time is very important, to bond between parents and child, to just go out and spend some time doing activities and things like that. So these are the things that parents can do to foster that bond, not necessarily going into just academic components of things, because when it comes together, these help to build the holistic development of a child as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really true in terms of, I think it feels as if, now the number of workshops and tuition classes and enrichment is just skyrocketing, right? And then you can see students who just don't have time to just play.
If I may add, I think there are so many factors involved here, but I just wanted to highlight 2 points. One is parental interest and parental supervision. If these two is absent at home, I think that's because parental interest and parental supervision ensure that the children are well taken care in that sense, And when we're talking about financial resources, I think by grace of God, now we have the YouTube, we have all the resources at the social internet. There are so many things we can do with recycle materials. You know, we don't need to attend extremely formal enrichment. So it's just that we have to be creative, we have to be resourceful, and I think we can do a lot of things to help our children. Most important is the value. The value must be grounded strongly in our children, in ourselves, within the family.
Yeah, I love the fact that you mentioned parental interest and supervision, right? And the fact that we don't, there's so many resources out there that we can kind of really look out. And I love the way you say recycling of resources. YouTube is a great resource as well. There's so many different things that we can learn from there. And so we're going to go on to the last question, and this is for any panelists to take. Can we have, as a parent, I am very concerned about how I can support my child if he or she experienced a friend or a classmate who attempted or committed suicide. Anybody?
I think if I could start, maybe perhaps before I pass to the other two panelists, I think these are real issues, so it may be traumatizing for a child to have met with a classmate who has just committed suicide. The role of the home is very important. First of all, I think do not, degrade their concern that their parents, that their classmates just committed suicide. I think talking about it is very important. Helping them to cope with this loss is very important too. There's a lot of, go to the school counselors, because this may require more than just talking. This could be part of grief management as well. And I guess as parents, be it, for a friend who has just committed suicide, or the death of a pet, or the death of somebody in the family, do acknowledge that grieving needs to take place. Spend time, allow the child or anybody in the family to go through that grief process, and again, I mentioned earlier about time out and space. These are very important in helping that child to go through these stages. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Like really, not deeming the thing that happened.
Yeah, I guess as parents, sometimes what we will just say, move on, So I think this is where we have to be a little bit sensitive to the child's feelings of this loss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just?
Yes, for sure, please.
Can I just add on? Madam Sabrina mentioned about the grieving process. I think as parents, we have to understand that our child needs to go through the different stages of grief and loss. And from my experience as a school counselor, right, I would advise parents if, for example, you do not know how to actually handle the situation with your child, just give a call to the school counselor, and usually we will actually support the child when the child comes back to school. We have sessions with the child to understand actually what the child is going through. Sometimes the child has many questions, unanswered questions, and the child wants to find closure actually to the whole situation. So we need to give time for the child to actually be ready to move on. So I hope parents can actually get the professionals to come in to help out. And the school is the best place to actually tap on the resources. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Any further additions, Dr. Bibi?
No, both have answered perfectly.
Great, thank you. And I think, I know, I really want to iterate as well, is that these are really real concerns, and these are real scenarios that we see in today's, like even when I was teacher, there were definitely incidents that has happened. And so a big part of it is to acknowledge it, to not deny it, and to give the necessary support. And once we can, we have mental health professionals and teachers and resources that we can tap. So with that, thank you so much to the three panelists that we have today. Such an insightful question. Thank you to parents for your brilliant questions. I hope those really, truly helped you. I know, like, I'm sitting here and I don't have a child myself. And now that I know that if I do have a child, I know who I can go to and ask for help. But with that, we have such insights, and these are key takeaways that we want to make sure that you have from today's session. So first of all, ACE from be able to keep active, be communicative, listen with empathy. Sometimes all the child needs from you is to be ace. Understanding, number 2, that stress is not the enemy. Stress can be good for your child, so help your child manage it effectively by supporting them, by problem solving, affirming, sharing, and empowering, so space. Number 3, building resilience in children, and this can be developed through providing safe environments, inculcating pro-social values and life skills, building positive social connections, and instilling a clear sense of purpose. And then we will also have all of these other resources in the next slide where you can utilize. So we do have Tinkle Friends, we do have Samaritans of Singapore, as well as the other resources from the Ministry of Education through the QR code. There will be a follow-up email that will be sent out with all of those resources. So we hope that you will be able to refer to that as we go along. So, time truly flew. It's already an hour into the session, and we have come to the end of the e-Brunch. There's been so many insights, so much useful information and resources, as well as very practical tips for all of us, for parents, for children. And so I do hope that this has been truly insightful and important to you. We would like to ask for your thoughts and feedback. So the post-program evaluation form, there is a QR code as well as the link on the screen right now. So please do help to fill that up, and we truly appreciate your support. And with that, I do want to end with this. You do not have to be alone, both parents and children. This journey is a journey that we do together. There is an entire network of support and resources. Find the mental health professionals, find your teachers, find your counselors, and together we can build resilience, and together we can gain success through our mental wellness. So thank you so much for being with us today. I am Atika, and I've been very honored to be your MC and moderator for today. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.